Hello there. So my roster name is Jason Kleppel, but I prefer not to go by this, so I go by my chosen name, which is Kipper Sky. I respond to Kip, Kipper, or Sky, a combination of the three. It really doesn't bother me, and my desired pronouns are he and they. Both are interchangeable, none matters more than the other, but both are options. A non interesting fact about me is that I have blue eyes and two hands. Nothing fancy, it's just a fact. How am I doing today? Pretty interesting day today. It was a very hot day today. Had a couple financial struggles and technological problems, so all in all, not the best of days, but it had a really good ending, and tomorrow's a new day with new opportunities, new blessings, and just because today was pretty bad, tomorrow can be pretty good, and I'm looking forward to it. A television series that I could watch over and over again would have to be Friends. I know it's cliche, I know it's retro, out of my time. Say what you will, but I absolutely love it. The idea that you get to look in on these people's lives and see how they've grown so naturally and just so fluidly, it's so amazing. It's a show that you get to sit down, relax. There's no added drama, there's no needed cliffhangers. Each episode to the next doesn't really follow a specific storyline. It's just these group of friends, how they develop, the days that they have that are good, the days they have that are bad, and just how that shapes them as people and their dynamics with each other. And it's something I love to just sit down on a rainy day, a warm cup of coffee, say it's from Central Perk, and watch a couple episodes and just enjoy the rain, enjoy the calm, and the no need for all the flamboyancy of life. What is my life currently like? That's a bit of a tricky one. So I was born in the year 2000 and my father passed in 2008. It does not bother me. We were the second family. He was never around. I have no living memory of him. And you can't miss what you never had. So it really doesn't bother me, but it left me and my mother all on our own. And this year, as of March the 7th, my mother had a life-altering stroke which brought to light my family's long line of congenital heart disease and defects. It finally caught up to her, and because of this, she's been left 98% paralyzed. She is paralyzed from the neck down, essentially nonverbal, and has had to move in with some family a little farther up north in order to sustain herself because they're the only ones able bodied enough to care for her. Now, what this means is that it's been left me on my own. I have packed up my life. I have moved to a new city. I've moved out of Houston. I've gotten my first apartment for myself, and I've been working really hard to build a life for me and my dog of 2 years now, and just really trying to build a life for us, build a future, build the life that I want to create and that I want to be a part of in these upcoming years. So I've decided to go back to school. I am paying out of pocket to return to school to pursue my doctorate in veterinary medicine with a specialty in rehabilitation and recovery, because that's what I truly love, is to take these patients that normally aren't feeling great, they can't tell you where it hurts, or they don't want to get up and get moving, get them up, get them moving, do a little bit of work, and send them home with a fresh breath of life, maybe shave off a couple of pounds, just really add those years to their life that their families can enjoy with them, because that's what we all look for as pet parents, is their comfort, their peace of mind, and just knowing that they can still get around okay. In my own words, what it means to be colorblind is it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's unique, it's something that nobody else can experience but you or people like you. All of us, we see the world the same way, the same color, saturations, hues, it's all the same. But to a colorblind person, it's different. And I've had a coworker who denied having the glasses for color correction because he didn't want to know, because he liked the world the way he saw it. He was red-green colorblind. And it would seem optimal to most of us, but to him, he really did help open my eyes and say that it's something that only he can see. It is something that none of us have these missing cones and rods to say, I see the world in colors that you don't see it as. And that's so unique and that's so beautiful to me because that's just what it is it's unique, it's one of a kind. And why would you want to see something 100,000 other people can see the same way when you can see it a way that they can't really even imagine? On a scale of 0 to 5, with the discussions of racism, I would rate 5. To me, racism is so heated and so charged because it's not discussed on either side. It's one of the most feared topics. You walk into a room and you're afraid of it because to bring it up means to welcome in very charged feelings and statements that you fear you could be hated for, because it's a thing of my views are not your views, but my views are seen as wrong and your views are seen as wrong. So nobody in the room is correct because it's spoken with nothing but pure emotion. When really what should be happening is it needs to be sat down, it needs to be discussed, it needs to be vibrant. That's why the BLM movement has gained so much trajectory with our generation, because we're open, we speak, we put our thoughts into words, and we act upon them rather than remain reserved and leave it as the elephant in the room, which is what leads it to be so vibrant and so dangerous, because it's a topic that, when not discussed, our ideas bottle up and they become twisted. And when we release them, they're incorrect views, they're incorrect statements that really just need a little bit of discussing to see it from both sides of the spectrum, to see that we're not that different apart. We're all pretty much the same, but we have the wrong idea of how one another goes about the day. And that's why racism is as charged as it is, and that's why it needs to be discussed. It needs to be an open topic, not a closed, charged, scary one. And finally, if there was one thing that I could change about the world, it would be the perception of how things are given to you. The idea that because you come from money, therefore you buy whatever you want, you don't need to be strong, you don't need to be smart, you just need to be rich. If looks come natural to you, everything's handed to you because everybody wants to be you. The idea of because you're born smart, you're just born smart. You don't have to try in school, you get easy grades, while others have to spend hours over a textbook studying topics that they just don't get, but if they fail the class, colleges won't look at them the same way. It's the idea of everything being handed to you, it's all luck of the draw, therefore I'm envious of you. That's what I would change, because that's not the case. If you're born smart, you're born smart, but you still have to have the good study habits to carry it along. And people don't see that. People don't see if you come from money, sometimes you make the conscious decisions to save, to put towards college funds, to put towards housing, to put towards independent projects, rather than my father just gave me $2,000, I'll go buy a boat. Instead, we see the people who walk about halls and are just naturally beautiful, and we assume everything comes easy. We don't see the hours in front of the mirror, we don't see the self-identity issues, we don't see the damage that comes with assumptions. So I would change the assumptions of the world. The idea that I know you and I haven't spoken to you just because of what you're doing says to me, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you act, when I haven't even gotten a chance to get to know you. When really all we need to do is just sit down, share a cup of coffee, and get to know one another. And a lot of those assumptions are very incorrect. Those who come from money usually don't like the money. The ones who have the looks, they typically have the most mental issues with it because they're hated so much for it. The people with such high intellect a lot of times have a hard time discussing just on a common level with others because they can't help the fact that their brains work on a different wavelength. And every single thing we see as being, this puts you at the top of the list, this puts you as one of a kind, you're an A-lister, are actually the things that are the most detrimental psychologically and almost physically, because things like beauty lead to mental disorder, eating disorders. Things like money lead to financial distress and potential homelessness when that family money runs out and you've developed incorrect spending habits. Things like high intellect are very hard to cope with when you're a professor in Harvard, but you have no one to come home to and you don't have a social life outside of your knowledge. There are a lot of pros and cons to being what we view as an A-lister, but all of it is based off an assumption, not fact. We assume that we know the way the world works, rather than take the time to sit down, let the world spin a little while, and just see what happens. And that's my views on it.